Oh, howdy all, grab yourself a drink. It is time for some pathofexile 1 discussion. Welcome to day 9 of Teaser Season patch 3.29 and the upcoming League Curse of the Allflame. Now, in yesterday's video, I made a silly little mistake, and that was that I recorded multiple takes of the video, and all of them except for the one I ended up using mentioned the Abyss music that was playing in the background. However, that ended up being forgotten when I put the video up, so thank you to all of those of you who pointed that out in the comments of yesterday's video. And if I've gone and forgotten something important today, I trust that you will point out my mistakes and have a bit of a laugh at me in the same way. Today, we're going to be talking about what happens when the Mirage League ends. Grinding Games put out a little bit of an update on this morning my time, so several hours ago. I'm going to quickly go through both what is in this announcement, but also some of the things that are not in the announcement, and some of the different interpretations people have got of that. Let's start with the known. The Mirage Challenge League ends soon. You may be wondering what's going to happen when it does. The Mirage system is not going core in 3.29. This has disappointed a lot of people, myself included. But here's what you can expect when the league ends. Now, firstly, the time that the league ends is clarified here. Now, this is going to be the 21st of July at 8 AM in my local time zone, but depending where you are in the world, and for most of you, it's going to be quite a bit earlier than that. So definitely check that out on the Grinding Games website if you're interested in knowing the exact time. The first thing to note is that there were a number of things that were added in the Mirage expansion that were not part of the Mirage League. So this is the changes to the way that the Atlas works, the addition of astrolabes, the addition of exceptional support gems, with one exception we'll come to in a sec, and a number of other things along those lines, the change away from itemized maps that specify what map they are, and the change to something more akin to Path of Exile 2's Waystones. All of these are still going to remain. So all of those core mechanics stay the same. Transfusion support, however, will not be available from divination cards. Now, let's talk quickly about what transfusion support is. This is apparently not going to be available next league. Now, this is the exceptional support gem that is mostly used in conjunction with Animate Guardian of Smiting. It causes your minions to gain souls based upon the amount of life that you spend on the upfront cost of supported skills. Now, this one's a bit of a weird one in that most of the time players do level it up to 3 or 4. But there are some weird circumstances in which you want it at level 1 or 2 instead. Now, this gem is typically used to support Corrupting Fever, but not on builds that intend to do damage with Corrupting Fever, but instead as a way to spend large amounts of life on demand. The player will then recover that life through some means, and one nearby minion gains a big number of souls, which are Soul Eater stacks, for every 200 life that you spend on the upfront cost of those skills. So if you can get the upfront cost of that skill in the 2000 life range, then suddenly every time you cast Corrupting Fever, you drop 2000 life, which you can probably recover pretty quickly, and your Animate Guardian of Smiting picks up 10 Soul Eater stacks. This is something that you can stack pretty explosively, and it's one of the reasons AG of Smiting was so good. So why is this one going Legacy and not something that's a little bit more impactful, like Minion Pact? Well, that's because this is the drop that comes from the Black Barrier, aka from Suresh of the Weeping Black. Existing Black Barriers will be usable, but there will be no way to obtain more of them. Now, Suresh has quite a lot of really important loot, and I think that's important to note here. Even though Suresh has only been around for one league, Suresh is a boss that provides the Sands of Time, which is kind of neither here nor there, the Broken Elegy, kind of neither here nor there, the one shrine, Screams of the Desiccated, which with certain shrines can actually not just compete with every rare belt in the game, but even can compete with Mageblood and Headhunter on some builds, and the 2-shrine version, which can be a big step up from that as well. He also drops Empowered Mirage maps tier 16, and has a modest chance of dropping Transfusion support, the gem that's going Legacy. So of these, the things that matter are the Empowered Mirage maps, the Transfusion support, and the Screams of the Desiccated. I know that there are some people who like these other items, but they're neither here nor there by comparison to how significant these things are. What's happening here is that you can use existing Black Barriers in Standard, should you have one, but you're not going to be able to get any new ones. Also, maps with Empowered Mirages that cover the entire map, these are just not going to work in Standard at all. So there will be no way to get access to the Mirage content while you're in Standard either. Grinding Gear Games then go on to finish their little statement by reminding you that the challenges exist, and if you want to complete them, then you've only got a few more days to do so. And I had actually been waiting for that moment myself. I went and did 6 of the challenges that were left, and got myself all of the MTX set that you get for doing all those challenges. However, the big open question here is what is going to happen to all of the league-specific rewards that Mirage offered unusual versions of? I'll start with possibly the most powerful of them all, which is the coins of power, coins of knowledge, coins of skill, the things that allow you to imbue a skill gem. The last that we heard on this was from the 328 Q&A, where Grinding Games said explicitly that was this league's borrowed power. And as a result of that, I wasn't expecting them ever to go core, and it looks like they're not going core. Existing ones should continue to work in standard. Just keep an eye out when the patch notes come out. But then there's all of the rewards that are tied to specific leagues, but only when they're found in the inverted world of the Mirage. A couple of examples of this: if you're doing a Beyond encounter inside a Mirage, you might get a Volatile Varlorb. If you do a Harvest encounter inside a Mirage, you might get a Crystallized Rancor. And if you do a Heist encounter, i.e. a Smuggler's Cache inside a Mirage, or even if you get an RNG drop of a blueprint or a contract from a monster, there is a chance that it will drop with an enchantment on it. But there's lots of other things as well. There's infamous modifiers, which previously had been tied to the Mercenaries mechanic. They were coming out of Rogue Exiles. All these sorts of things. The answer is, for all of these things, we don't know if they're going core or not. Grinding Games have only said to us that we're not going to be able to get them the same way we used to get them, but not whether they're going to be available at all. And I'm inclined to think that most of them will probably come back through some other means, but it will be a means that's not disclosed yet and that we'll find out about later. Maybe we'll get confirmation that they won't be available in 329. Maybe we'll get confirmation they will, but it may just be that we're not going to find out until players are solidly at endgame. And then at that point, we'll start to find that out piece by piece. Grinding Games definitely do have this thing of letting players find little surprises. And it was the case with Mirage. There were quite a lot of things they did not tell us about that wound up in the final league that we were able to play. And that was pretty well received. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see exactly that done again. While I was editing this video, I also remembered that pathofexile 2's 050 expansion had a tremendous amount of secrets in it. Way more than any pathofexile 1 expansion has ever had in it. So for those of you that play pathofexile 2, just to give you a few of those examples, you had the quest for the dagger, you had the hidden altar that allows you to create the taming, you had Lawweave, you had the Martyr of the First Edict mechanic, you had so many of these little secrets that were hidden in there, and it wouldn't surprise me if there's a bunch of those waiting to be discovered in pathofexile 1's 3.29 as well. Anyways, that is the news that we got today. It was not a large amount of news today, quite a quiet day. I did want to make a rare plug on this channel. I try not to spam you guys with this too much, but if you want to see my videos pop up about 3 times as often on your YouTube feed, then you can always do that silly like and subscribe thing. Like seems to be a temporary boost, like a temporary 300% more multiplier number of my videos that you see. Subscribing is a long term, something like 300% more multiplier. Also, if you're okay with getting spammed, you can also click the bell, but that's entirely up to you. I'm going to leave it there. May your Varlorbs and your volatile Varlorbs, which there's not very many of left in the Mirage League economy, may they all have interesting results.